What's up guys? Today we are bringing you another install, and today we're installing the rear inner fenders on this diesel Gladiator. If you like these videos, make sure you like and subscribe down below. Let's get started. The first step is to make sure you have everything that you're supposed to have that came in the kit. First, you will have your hardware kit, your black rubber hose, and all the aluminum pieces that you can see here in the diagram. If you are missing anything out of your kit, please contact sales at Artec Industries. Let's get this install started and start by removing the rear fender. The first step to moving this fender is to take your 8mm socket and remove the 3 inner bolts holding the inner fender on. We're going to remove these 3 bolts holding the inner fender in. We are going to want to save these bolts because we will have to reuse them to attach some parts that we send in our kit. Now that we've removed those 3 bolts holding on the inner fender, we can take the whole fender off, and inner fender off as one unit. To do that, we're literally just going to rip off the whole fender. Don't be scared. Now that you have your fender off and inner liner, you can take off your inner liner so you can reinstall your fenders once you've installed your inner liners that came from Artec Industries. To remove your inner fender, you can remove these pop rivets, these plastic rivets. You just either cut them out from behind or drill them out from the front side, remove them, and this whole plastic liner comes out and you can reinstall the inner fender. Let's continue getting the Artec Industries inner fenders on. Now that we have that all out, the first step is to remove the harness clip from this body mount. We're just gonna reach in here, pop it down, and we're gonna wanna move the harness back over to here, and we can either zip tie it up or just tuck it back in there to make the inner fender installation easier. The next step is to remove the vent canister, and to do so, we're gonna use a 10mm socket and remove this nut. Now that we have the canister out, we're just going to cut off this little piece of rubber so we can use the hose that came in the kit to reattach and relocate this canister. Now we're going to install the new hose on the vent canister. Make sure you push the hose on until it bottoms out. We're going to reattach the canister to this top stud right here. Using a 10mm, we're going to reinstall the nut on the top stud. Now we're going to move the plastic hose into place. We're going to measure and cut the rubber hose so it's enough to slide onto the second barb in the plastic hose. Once it's cut, we're just going to slide it in. If you really want to secure the vent hose, you can zip tie it to the filler neck hose. Next, we're going to bend this tab all the way back and around until it hits the body again. The next step is to use our 25/64 drill bit and to drill the hole for the Rev Nut. In your kit, you'll have a Rev Nut tool, your Rev Nut, and we'll install that back here on this hole in the bottom. There's an inner channel part that comes in your kit of parts. One says driver front, and the other one says passenger side front. The front part of the driver, where it says front, goes towards front of the vehicle. This is the next step to installing the inner fenders. We're going to take the 3 bolts that we saved from the inner fender and reattach this to the body. Using an 8mm socket, we're going to re-thread in these bolts. Now that we have that bracket installed on the body, we can loosely assemble the inner fender. Let's go. Again, we're not going to tighten any of these bolts. We're just going to loosely install it until we have it all installed on the vehicle. Now that we have the inner fender loosely assembled, we can put it in the vehicle and install it. Using 4 of the long ⅛ button heads, we will install the inner fender into the Jeep body. We want to leave all these bolts loose until all the bolts are fully installed. Now that we have loosely installed the inner fender, we can reinstall the fender. To do so, we want to remove the plastic body clips that hold the fender on in the places that line up with the PEM nuts that are pressed into the inner fender. And you can see here, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we're going to remove those 7 clips on the fender. Once we have it aligned, we're going to just push it in and pop it into place. Don't be scared. Using 7 of the long ⅛ button heads, we're going to install them into the inner fender through the fender. Again, we want to leave all these loose until we can get all the bolts in, and then we'll go back through and tighten everything up. These little plastic gussets that held the inner fender on and gusseted the inner fender, if you're having issues with getting the button heads in, you can trim these back. I'll show you how to do that right now. Now that we have everything loosely installed and all the button heads in, we can go through and tighten everything up. Now that we have the driver's side fully installed and done, we can move to the passenger side and get that side bolted up. That side's a lot easier because we do not have to relocate any vacuum canister or anything like that. We can just bolt it straight in. That's it for this install video, and that completes the install for the inner fenders. If you have any questions or comments, drop them down below. Make sure you like and subscribe this channel. I'll catch you on the next one.